Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Put Me in Coach, I'm Ready to Scale podcast. I am your host, Eugene Terk. On this show, we cut through the noise to bring you practical ideas, real world experiences, and actionable insights from business coaches and growth minded leaders who are in the trenches every day. We aren't just talking about big ideas. We're talking about execution and hopefully helping you master leadership, alignment, accountability, and strategy to successfully scale your business. As a reminder, each and every episode is brought to you by Align, the strategic planning and execution software designed to keep your team focused on what matters most. From KPI dashboards to daily huddles, Align helps you create clarity and drive consistent execution. As a listener of the podcast, you can get 10% off of your new subscription. Just head over to aligntoday.com to sign up for an introductory demo and be sure to use promo code podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. And now let's jump into today's conversation. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Put Me in Coach, I'm Ready to Scale podcast. I'm your host, Eugene Terk. Thanks so much for joining us. And this week, we have the pleasure of speaking with Bob Bishop. Bob, pleasure to see you. How's everything going?
Things are great. Great to see you, Eugene.
Bob, you and I have worked together for a number of years. We've known each other longer than that. For those in our audience who may not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, your coaching practice, and how you became a business coach.
Sure. I'm a business coach focused on scaling businesses, and so I use the scaling up framework made popularized through some books by Vern Harnish. And I came to that specific practice, after a number of years of coaching and consulting with businesses in turnaround situations, and had a couple of opportunities to work with different type of businesses that were just really moving fast, and the market and the opportunities were moving at a pace that they were really struggling to keep up with, and help some of those out. And I found that was a better fit for me, just personally. I really like that, working with those type of businesses. I found scaling up. I partnered with them in 2017. It's starting to sound like a long time ago now. And so I've been a scaling up focused coach since that time, and I work in two general regions. I'm here today in Charleston, South Carolina. So I work in the greater, within a couple hours of Charleston here in the Low Country. I also have clients from my past days in Connecticut, and so I still have and still add a little bit of work up there. So those are the two main regions that I work in.
And so, Bob, having these opportunities to work with fast-growing companies, when they come to you, clearly they may be frustrated, they've reached some sort of plateau. What are some of the first things that you sort of do with businesses to help them sort of either get to the next level or understand the problems they're encountering as you start working with them in order to work through those issues?
Well, it's very much getting some information and trying to be prescriptive to the client's actual situation. The framework that Scaling Up uses, the looking at people, strategy, execution, and cash, is a great first step. But it really depends on what folks are needing. Often there is, they might have a really sound strategy, but they're struggling with the people to really execute it. They might be they might have some great processes and execute very well, but they're not monitoring their cash at the level that they ought to. So everyone's got a different situation. So I do have some tools where I'll go in and look at what they have and what they don't have, and we'll really the key is to find something that solve some initial problems and get them on track fast, back to generally where they ought to be. And then there's opportunities to work in other areas in the future, but find the big pain points first.
So I know that one of the topics, or the topic that we're going to talk about, is this topic of core values. And just to start very simple, when we talk about core values with organizations or leadership teams, what are we really talking about? And for those who might not be familiar with core values, what are they and sort of why are they important?
Yeah, core values come from Jim Collins' work a couple decades ago, which really describes what the business is, how it operates, what it values, what its priorities are, and it's different from its execution. We really look at how businesses operate, what they get done, and how they get it done, and the how is core values. So, for instance, it might be, we're a company that gets everything done fast as possible, and we'll fix the broken pieces later. And then there's other people that we're going to be very methodical. We're going to look at all the data. We're going to analyze, and we're going to make sure we make the right decision the first time. Those are both very valid ways of operating, but they're very different, obviously. And so, as a company decides what it's going to do and decides what type of people it's going to bring on, really clarifying what it is and what it isn't is important to get the right people on board that are comfortable operating that way.
And certainly, I'm starting to see more and more where companies are even, putting their core values on their websites as sort of a defining feature of this is who we are. This is sort of how we operate. Is putting core values on your website or putting them on, the walls of the conference room in an office really sufficient to make core values come alive inside of an organization?
Yeah, I would say it's not, but it's I think the key to it is I think you mentioned right that the making them come alive or having them alive in the organization is important. The core values are first of all could be a very negative. I think we've all seen organizations that have core value statements up on the wall, and sitting at the table next to the wall, people violate those on a regular basis, right? People, employees, team members, and by the way, your clients and your suppliers all see that, and that's worse than not having any at all. But they should be things that are alive. They should be things that we can actually see in the organization, and even in between that, people will have aspirational core values. We would like to treat everyone in a certain way, but if you're not able to do that, if it's something you're trying to do, that's fine as a goal, but a core value is something that's really intrinsic within the organization and should be there.
So, do you have any examples from coaching clients where they've done a good job of making core values really come alive and be a part of their culture inside each and every organization?
Yeah, I my friends at US Brick here in South Carolina do a nice job, and they have created their core values in such a way that they're unique to the organization. They're terms that mean something. So they have a core value of bring a spear to the fight, right? That's not normal. You're not going to see that core value in a lot, but it means, right? It means to them that that everyone's taking action to get things done and to join the battle. And that they'll use that term, and it really resonates when they're talking about it. And so that's another thing I would suggest in the area of core values is there's a ton of platitudes you can use as core values, but work on them, twist them around a little bit, and make them yours.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, obviously there's the example of, even Enron probably had a core value of integrity.
Right.
That really doesn't mean much. How detailed should you get into sort of defining, explaining, or writing out your core values rather than just being sort of a few words?
Yeah.
Does it help to be even more detailed about what that core value actually means to the inside the organization?
Yeah, I think it does. It might not resonate as much on the website, thinking about that activity. Maybe it's a high level thing there. But if I'm explaining core values to a potential employee, I probably have those core values listed as three, four, five bullets with a description of what that really means, right? Especially if we're using our own terminology that might not be obvious to an outsider. And I would maybe even explain an example of how it looks when we behave that way in the organization. Similarly, when we're working with employees or evaluating employees, we want to make sure that they're a good fit within core values, right? The employee that doesn't fit your core values is very difficult, no matter what their level of performance, very difficult to use within a fast moving organization, right? We really need to be thinking the same way and having the same priorities. So, and it might not be, right? The core values don't have to be all, the positive, negative side. It just might be that they don't fit. And that might be a situation where, we help them find the next move in their career somewhere else.
Right, that's a really interesting point because the core values don't just define who you are as an organization, but they also define sort of how you make decisions in the organization. One of those decisions being hiring and firing, that you truly want to hire people who are going to live the core values that you've
Mhm.
created, and the employees that are in your organization that don't live up to the core values, it makes it very easy for you to make that hiring and firing decision. Are there other benefits that you can sort of discuss about making core values an integral part of your culture inside your organization? What else? What other benefits can organizations really start to see when they truly commit to their core
Right.
values?
I think you'll find, right, there's a lot of statistics out about employee engagement and how a lot of people are very disengaged with their jobs, not happy, not putting a substantial part of their skills or their energy into a job, and a lot of that comes from, if I'm in an organization that I'm misaligned with core values, right, that's one of the results that you're going to see quite often. So it's really important to match that up, right? It's important for the organization because they're going to have people that aren't performing at the level and creating the results at the level that the organization needs. And also, if I'm in your organization and I don't match the core values that you and the team have defined as what you have and what's going to be important to you, I can fake that for a while, but I'm going to rapidly become miserable in the organization because it's just not me, right? I can pretend, I guess, for long enough, I guess, to get a few paychecks, that's fine. But the reality is that I'd be much better off finding an organization that's more aligned with what I believe in.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's lots of resources online to help business owners um, go through the process of creating or drafting your core values. But my question to you would be, for a business owner that's listening to this conversation today, what's one practical step that they can take just to begin in making the core values that they do have more real, more alive inside the organizations that they're running?
Right, right. And so to reference, there's definitely writings by Jim Collins that does mission to Mars exercises to help discover them. I'd say, as an example, I spend time with my leadership teams on a regular, probably at least annual basis. We'll have an exercise where we'll go through a core values review with the leadership team. And it's usually at the beginning of an offsite, so beginning of a day or two, where we've taken ourselves away from the business, and we're gonna work on really honestly reviewing where we are and what actions we need to take. And so those can be very heavy discussions, and there's a lot of work there. And I really like to lead it off with things like a core values review, where we'll go around the table and everyone has the assignment. Usually, I'll give them some notice so they can think about this. But everyone has the assignment to share with the full group an example of where they've seen core values alive in the organization in the last week, in the last couple of weeks, something usually a fairly short period of time. So where you've seen it, exactly who was displaying the core value. It may be somebody else in the leadership team. Most often, it's someone else in the organization, which is great, and which core value it aligns with. So you get an example of, Mary did a great job of displaying our core value of we put our customers first, and she did that by solving an invoicing problem in a certain way that showed that this was that the customers are important to us, but we want to work together to solve this thing. And it's not, maybe it wasn't exactly to the letter of the policy, but she got the right job done and left the customer feeling better about the organization, right? And so it's a great thing for everyone to hear those things. It really helps to share with everyone what that most people will walk away from them thinking, wow, I was just frustrated about all the people who aren't doing the things we want them to do yesterday. And now I just heard 10 stories of people who really are doing what, without prompting, without their manager telling them what to do, who really are doing what we need to have done. So it's great energy for the leadership team. The other thing it does is a reminder of the core values for the leadership team. It sort of gets us centered for our discussions together. And it also, if we have core, maybe we've heard maybe there's four core values, and we went through 10 people and they covered three of them. We didn't hear anything about the fourth. It's an opportunity to ask ourselves, well, why didn't we hear anything about the fourth? Is that right? We should see and hear these alive in the organization. Is the reason that we didn't hear that that it's not alive in the organization, or it might just be a math situation that we didn't hear it that time, and if we did it again, we'd hear it four times. That's a valid answer, but maybe the answer is some of our core values are aspirational, like you said earlier, or we're not really, it's not a good fit, or maybe we need to revisit that. Core values don't change that often, so we don't want to go have a new list every quarter. But if we start to see one that we thought was in the organization but in reality isn't, we should get it off there before we put it up on the wall and embarrass ourselves, like you said.
Yeah. And certainly the core values that you create when you start the organization may not necessarily still be the core values 5 years or 10 years or 20 years into the maturity of the business. Makes perfect sense. Bob, all great points. Appreciate the conversation. I'm going to shift because I like to end these interviews with some lighthearted questions. What's a book that you're currently recommending that all of your business leaders read?
I have just started. It's a great question, but and there's a couple. There's been a couple earlier this year, but I think the one that's really intriguing me right now, I'm looking across my office at it right now, is a book called Fans First, and I'll probably get Jesse Cole. Jesse Cole is the founder of the Savannah Bananas and Banana
Okay.
Ball.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing story of him. Right, the first concept is what, like, we took this game that was getting a little bit old and boring, and the younger generation wasn't that interested in it, but it's a lot more. He does some amazing things to really create a great fan experience, to really think about the fans first. He's all, it was very, I saw him on a Simon Sinek interview recently, and it's, they could charge a lot more for their tickets. They control their secondary market. They really keep the price reasonable for the average fan, and try to make a great experience for everybody that goes there. And he's really redefining, baseball as entertainment.
Yeah, it's all about the fan experience. I were
Yep.
in New Orleans recently. I didn't get a chance to go, but I heard wonderful things about those who did.
Mhm.
Next question, favorite place to visit in the world?
Whew. Um, Love to travel. Um, and I think I would come back, and knowing where you're broadcasting from, I have an annual pilgrimage to New Orleans, and it's just a great combination of people, of music, of food, and it's a just got back from 5 days there earlier this month, and it's something I look forward to every year.
That is a perfect segue into my final question, which is one that's near and dear to me. So, name a musical artist or band, dead or alive, that you have never seen in concert that you wish you could.
New
Not to
Orleans has
put you
done a
on the
great
spot.
job of checking those, of making that a shorter list than it used to be. Um, Probably, I'm just of the wrong age by a few years, but I'm a huge Led Zeppelin fan, and I think that a Led Zeppelin show live, seen a lot of people try to copy it, and I'm sure, and it's been great, but I'm sure it was just a different thing. So I think if I um, just to see four individuals who were all at the top of their respective pieces of a band together like that for that approximately 10 years of time would have been amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. Bob, thank you so much. Thank you so very much for your time. For those of us or those in our audience who want to learn more about Bob, who want to learn more about core values and how to make them come alive, I certainly encourage you to visit Bob and his website, which is apex consulting.biz. Again, that's apex consulting.biz. We'll make a link to his website available in the episode notes. And as always, we thank you very much for your time, for listening in, for joining us. We hope that this has brought some new insights into ways to make core values come alive in your organization, to make them more embedded in your culture, and to use your core values not just as something that you can put on your website or on the walls of your offices, but something that truly will motivate your employees to hopefully scale to greater heights. As always, Bob, pleasure seeing you. Thanks so much for your time and for your wisdom. Have a great day.
Okay.